Welcome to Episode 7 of the Princeton Podcast with Mayor Mark Freda. In this episode, Mark invited Mike Yeh, Director of Emergency Services for the Princeton Fire Department, and Shawn Gallagher, Chief of the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad. They discussed the differences between the services provided by each organization, as well as the collaboration often required in times of need. Since the Princeton Fire Department and the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad recruit many of their volunteer service members from our community, Mike and Shawn also discussed the organization's member training, personal and professional growth, and their upcoming recruitment open houses here in Princeton. This is a very informative session, so without any further introduction, let's join our host, Mark Freda, and his guests, Mike Yeh and Shawn Gallagher, for Episode 7 of the Princeton Podcast.
Mike and Shawn, thank you very much for joining us on today's podcast. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Good morning.
So let's start with an easy question for each of you. Mike, if you would go first, what is your title and what is your organization that you're representing here today?
So good morning. My name is Mike Yeh. I'm the Director of Emergency Services for Princeton, and I'm representing the Princeton Fire Department. The chiefs were unable to make this morning's appointment, so I'm going to be speaking for them.
Thank you. Shawn.
Hey, my name is Shawn Gallagher. I am the Chief of the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad.
Okay, Shawn. How long have you been involved with the squad?
Just about 15 years. I think it'll be 15 years in April of 2022.
Terrific. Mike, how long have you been?
Been with the township for about a year and a half now.
Okay, thank you very much. So, looking beyond just your experience and time here in Princeton, Mike, how long have you been involved in firefighting and emergency services overall?
Overall, I've been involved in fire and EMS for 41 years. I started as a junior, so you can factor those years in also.
Giving away your age. Go ahead, Shawn.
I'm not quite as long as Mike. I've been involved since 2005. I started as a cadet, just same as Mike.
Now, Shawn, you recently became Chief of Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad.
Yeah, October 18th.
And Mike, you've had experience in other fire departments outside of Princeton, isn't that correct?
That's correct. I grew up in West Windsor, and I joined the Princeton Junction Fire Company. And also at the time, the Volunteer First Aid Squad was the Twin W First Aid Squad. So I actively rode with both of those organizations.
One of the interesting things I think I find in going around town is people butcher the names of both organizations, trying to somehow combine parts of each name into one. Mike, could you just tell us a little bit about the Princeton Fire Department and what kind of organization it is?
So the Princeton Fire Department has a long history, rich history in Princeton. And the Princeton Fire Department obviously focuses on the fire department, the fire suppression and response within town. Again, it's got a long, storied, rich history, but their focus is for emergency fire response within town and also the surrounding neighbors, surrounding towns.
And Mike, the fire department's actually a municipal agency?
Yes, so the department is a municipal agency. It's actually made up of volunteer agencies that started way back in the 1700s. And as they formed as volunteers, they've been sponsored under the municipality, which pays for equipment like the fire trucks and the turnout gear and training and expenses like that.
Okay. Shawn, could you give us a little bit about what type of organization the First Aid Squad is?
Sure. So the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad does just exactly that, first aid. So any medical emergency in town we handle. But we also do technical rescue, which I think a lot of people don't know. Most people think that usually falls under the fire department, which in the county tends to be true. We are one of the few organizations who also do technical rescue and have been doing so for quite some time.
Right. And I guess one of the big differences between the Princeton Fire Department and the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad, whereas the Princeton Fire Department's a municipal agency, Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad is actually an independent nonprofit.
Right, absolutely. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We receive no funding from the town whatsoever. We rely entirely on donations and billing for our services.
Mike, the fire department, as you said, does have a very rich history, which is mostly a volunteer history, but that's not purely a volunteer organization any longer, is it?
Yes, unfortunately, nationally, we've seen a decline in volunteerism for many different reasons, and how busy people's lives are now in one aspect. But still, nationally, the fire service is made up of volunteers, and even though Princeton has that extremely rich tradition in the fire service, Princeton have had to hire our first 6 career firefighters, and that was done in February of 2020, and they form that base that helps solidify and support the volunteer members of the fire department.
Thanks. And Shawn, I think likewise in the first aid squad?
Right. We're also a hybrid organization, and we have volunteers and paid staff. Currently, we're about 9 full-time paid staff with a handful of per diems who work as needed mixed in. And then the rest of our members, around 75, 80 of them or so, are all volunteers. And the squad has been a hybrid organization like that since about the 80s, I believe, which
1980
predates me quite a bit, but
well, for the squad, right? It's interesting that it's been able to be that type of combined organization for so long and work so well seamlessly, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if people look back at our history, you wouldn't even really be able to tell that there is a mix of paid staff and volunteers. And we routinely get the question of, how long have you been volunteering for? And people don't even really notice that there is that combination.
Right. And Mike, I guess the paid members of the Princeton Fire Department now, as you said, due to it's harder to get volunteers. That's kind of like the new core, I guess, of the fire department. Yeah.
So the new core, that ensures the staffing are these career members of the fire department. And interestingly enough, 5 out of the 6 have that traditional volunteer base from Princeton. So we've been able to hire folks that have roots within the community. But as we transition, these career firefighters help form the basis for our volunteers and ensure that the trucks get on the road quickly and efficiently.
So the one theme that we really want to get to talk to is recruiting more volunteers, because as you both have said, obviously both organizations have a mix of each. So let's take each organization. Why are you recruiting volunteers right now? Shawn, do you want to jump in first?
So traditionally, a lot of our volunteers tend to come from the university, which is great. We love having our university students, but they are limited in the time we have them for and their time commitments. A lot of them are here just for the school year, and then they're away for the summer. We are fortunate that we do have the opposite end of that, where we do have town residents who return from school during the summer to fill in, but we're really looking for more members who are deeply rooted in the town. They're here, 365 days a year. We don't have to worry about, if they're only here for, 2 months, 4 months. We're really looking for people who are here kind of around the year.
Thanks. And Mike, so why is the fire department recruiting?
For the same reasons that nationally it's a little bit been a tougher challenge to recruit volunteers and retain them. But, as in all departments, we continually try to recruit and retain these members. And as Shawn had indicated, we run through different cycles during the course of the year on availability of folks. So in particular, we're making a very concerted effort to drive that recruitment drive currently, but recruitment will always be an ongoing challenge or task for both the fire department and the first aid squad.
So, Mike, sticking with you for a second, my understanding is that the fire department will have an open house coming up soon?
Yes, on December 7th, on a Tuesday evening, the fire department will be hosting an open house for the community members to come in, meet with our members, find out a little bit about the fire department. We'll be presenting information to inform our visitors about what it is to become a volunteer. We also understand that, our own volunteers, like all community members, have different priorities in their lives, including their jobs, their families, different things that their children may be involved in. And we understand that. And what we do is we try and inform them how, even with those activities and challenges, you still have an ability to connect with your community and contribute in a very positive and helpful way within Princeton.
Thanks. And Shawn, I guess the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad is going to have an open house also.
Yes, we will be having our open house on December 13th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And likewise, similar to the fire department, we're just really trying to engage the community, have people come in, ask whatever questions they have. We're happy to answer any questions and really try to drive home the fact that anybody can volunteer. Even though it is a large time commitment, a lot of people make it work. And I think sometimes people don't understand how they can make it work. So we're really trying to answer those questions and let people realize that it is something that they can do.
And I did mention it was December 7th for the fire department open house. It is 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And the firehouse is located at 363 Witherspoon Street, right across from the municipal building.
And Shawn, where is the squad's open house?
We are at 2 Mount Lucas Road, and we are right across from the police parking lot.
Right. So, okay, important detail for our listeners as you spread the word for possible volunteers to come to these 2 open houses. The open house for Princeton Fire Department, December 7th, 7 to 9 p.m., 363 Witherspoon Street, which is the firehouse, versus Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad on December 13th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at 2 Mount Lucas Road, which is the intersection of Valley Road and Witherspoon, Valley, and Mount Lucas.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. We want people going to the right one. And in fact, if you want to look at both organizations, feel free, right? I mean, we have...
Absolutely.
Isn't there, I think there's a history of members belonging to both organizations.
To that point, there's a very deep history. There's a very, very involved history with members belonging to both organizations, and also for families. There are some long-lasting family connections within town, within generation to generation. And as Shawn had indicated, folks may not realize that they may not be able to fit time in, but once they become aware of what some of the schedules are and how flexible schedules are, it becomes very easy to fit it within your schedule to be able to help your community.
Okay, thank you. So, Shawn, you kind of alluded to this as to what type of volunteer you're looking for, somebody that lives in town and is here year round as versus just, a student, although students are more than welcome and fulfill a need. But for each of you, is there any type of ideal or preferred type of volunteer? I mean, is there, I don't know, some model of somebody that somehow fits best? Or
I think from our end at the First Aid Squad, we're really looking for people who are just dedicated to wanting to help their community. You should probably have an interest in the medical field because that is what you're going to be doing. But really anybody who wants to give back, who wants to help their community, who cares about, helping their fellow community members in a time of need is, the kind of person we're looking for.
Say with the fire department, and the age varies. There are junior members in the first aid squad, the fire department, and it carries all the way up through folks that may not think that they can contribute to the response side of the fire department and first aid squad, but you'd actually be amazed at what you can do. So what we're looking for, as Shawn said, we're looking for town residents, or even if you work in town, to help be part of this organization. And in all those aspects, people who may not be sure they can contribute, we ask that you come by the open houses to find out a little bit more about the different organizations. But certainly we're looking for people who live and work in town and who have an interest in contributing to help their organizations and help their town.
So I think part of what we need to share with people also is there's a whole training process to go through early on in your time with each organization in order to be a productive member. Shawn, maybe you could tell us what that is on the squad side.
Yeah, sure. So when we first bring in new members, they go through a part of what we call a recruit class. They learn some general squad history, knowledge, basic things like lifting and moving, where stuff is on the ambulance. From there, anybody who is not certified as a EMT goes through the state EMT program that we host. It's about 212 hours in total, or about a semester's length of coursework. And then from there, they go through the rest of what we call our module system, learning, patient care and the ways we operate. And in general, somebody with no experience can become productive member, as you put it, in total within about a year. Somebody coming in with experience, it usually tends to be less time than that.
Also for the fire department, any member that'd be joining the fire department would be introduced into the standard SOPs, standard operating procedures for the fire department. And then we would sponsor that person into the Fire Training Academy. And for Princeton, we do something a little bit different. The county runs the regular Firefighter 1 class, but to help our residents, what we try and do is have the Fire Academy run a class here in Princeton. So a lot of the classes, as the First Aid Squad does, here right in Princeton, the Fire Academy, we will try and host a lot of that right here at the fire department. And again, as Shawn said, our training basically lasts a semester. And once you fulfill that training regimen, you're considered a Firefighter 1 as you move along. And then we do meet on a regular basis. Again, the applicant or the firefighter can choose what schedule that they can attend. And we refine and continue to work on different processes to sharpen their skills as firefighters.
So just to help people listening in, people get trained, but it's not like, okay, I just finished my Firefighter 1 course, or I just finished my emergency medical technician course, and now the next day I'm in charge of a fire, or, hey, this person just had a serious injury and I'm the one calling all the shots. So Shawn, maybe you could just describe, you finish your training, but there's additional time you alluded to, there's other training, but kind of what is the oversight process till somebody's comfortable doing whatever it is they're going to end up doing?
Right. So it's almost, we kind of look at it as like a mentorship. You're not going to be, thrown by yourself, to the wolves, kind of, as you alluded to. You're going to be guided by more senior members who have, a lot of years of experience doing this. And they're going to be there with you throughout the process to make sure that, what you're doing is appropriate and that you're not just stuck there on your own. And then once you get to a point that you're comfortable, we, promote you up to the next rank. And then eventually you're the one training somebody who's new coming in. And it's kind of nice to see that go full circle.
For the fire department, it's much like the First Aid Squad. And I may assimilate that to like a sports team, like a football team. When you come on board, you get trained in a position. As Shawn said, you get mentorship that helps grow your training and grow your confidence. And as you continue to attend these training events, you're able to sharpen your skills and feel more confident and competent within those tasks that help contribute to the response to any emergency. So even though you get the basic training, just like on a sports team, you continue to work as a team member to refine some of the skills and learn more about the different skill sets so that you're able to sharpen your own abilities and gain confidence and, again, competence in being able to execute those different evolutions.
So I know we've been going back and forth with a lot of information. It's been kind of cut and dry, but all three of us have a lot of experience in emergency services. So we serve the public, we see things that sometimes are difficult, but we also have fun and we enjoy what we're doing, right? I mean,
that you bring up a really great point, Mark. When I joined, and it sounds like we all joined at a younger age, I think there were doubts within my own abilities. How will I react in an emergency, whether it's a fire or a medical emergency? And, quickly, just experiencing this with the crew members I'm with provided me the training and the confidence. And once I was able to find that confidence in myself, which occurred very quickly, I really developed a passion for operating at these emergencies, responding to these emergencies, and working as part of a team. There's truly some great satisfaction at being able to respond to a person or a family's worst day ever and being able to support them as best you can. We're not there to receive the thank yous, but certainly afterwards we understand, and we have received some notes and communications from folks that they really benefited from our efforts to support them on their worst day, their worst event of their life. But on a personal aspect, we certainly enjoy that whole teamwork and working to deal with emergencies and help people in their worst situation possible.
And it's not just emergencies. Like Mike said, that is a huge part of what we do. It's the base of what we do. But we do have a lot of fun too, as Mark said. I mean, at the squad, and I know the fire department too. We eat meals together. We do training together. We eat meals together. We do stuff like movie nights, things like that. And we also do stuff out in the community. I think most recently, both the squad and the fire department participated in the trunk or treat at the municipal lot. And that's just a fun thing. It builds camaraderie with everybody. There's, some of the fire department members dressed up, it just a lot of joking, a lot of fun. There's always something going on. And you just really have this tight knit group of people who almost become like your second family.
Right. Which is interesting in that if you need a place to escape from your from your family, from your apartment, your condo, someplace where you can go, like that old TV show, Cheers, whatever it is, you go where everybody knows your name and all that. I mean, but that really is, honestly, right, part of the atmosphere at both organizations.
Yeah, truly. And, Shawn said it, that, it is a great place to kind of learn and be part of a team and really gain some personal development, I'll call it, personal development and working with others, working at great objectives and just a very positive environment, Mark, that you're talking about. This is others family that, Shawn mentioned that you'll become very engaged with and be able to have a good time and just like any other family, joke with others and just develop some really great relationship with other members of each organization.
Yeah, and we have a ton of members who come in just to hang out, for nothing more than just to hang out, just to chit chat, talk. And we even see that with members who have been gone for years. We've had members who live out of state and they make it a point anytime they're back in Princeton that they stop by the squad just to say hi, whether they're life members or, alumni members. And, it's really good to see that those bonds and that last so long, even after you've moved on.
Right. I think another important aspect of both organizations is the opportunities to take on leadership positions and to self-development, really.
Yeah, and that's a great point also. And, I talked about how coming in as a newer person, you're kind of feeling your way through life. And some of us are maybe a little bit more comfortable in different challenges and others maybe not so confident. And that's such a great point that you made, Mark, about individuals as learning and then finding out that, hey, if I push myself, I can do that thing that I didn't think I could do. And then being provided with opportunities to grow as a person, to grow as a crew chief, to grow as a line officer within one of the organizations, the fire department or the first aid squad, and even administratively serving in different capacities. But they're great organizations to help grow you as a person. And then the professional development, which really brings home other tasks that you may not join for, but certainly help you grow as a person and your interactions with your family and with your peers and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. I really think that the opportunities the squad or the fire department gives you really helps you in every aspect of your life, not just, in emergency services, be it medical or fire. Those leadership opportunities and what you learn in those leadership opportunities carries over into, your personal life, your business, anything. And we have members who aren't interested in those leadership positions per se, but we also have those members who are hesitant, and it's really great to see them grow into those positions and just, you can really see the self-development there.
So I guess another point that we hadn't talked about earlier was cost. And we're really, for people to join the organizations, my understanding is the two organizations pretty much cover almost all the cost to pretty much. It's pretty minor cost to join anything.
Yeah. So for anybody joining the squad, it costs you nothing to join. Well, there is a small deposit when you do the EMT class, but once you've been a member for a certain amount of time, that gets reimbursed to you. So really it ends up kind of balancing out. Aside from that, everything else, from your uniforms and all that, it's all provided for you.
And same point with the fire department. Anything that comes down is picked up by the fire department, by the town, paying for everything from physical to uniforms to equipment and so forth. So there is no financial cost to anyone that comes aboard.
So people can show up at the fire department open house on December 7th or the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad open house on December 13th, get all the details. They could join. They get free uniforms. They get to ride on a vehicle that has lights and sirens. I mean, what more could you ask for in life?
What more could you ask for? You join a team of very dedicated and passionate people, and really, again, you're joining, as Shawn said, a second family to really be a part of a great team that serves your community. So, like you said, Mark, just a wonderful opportunity.
Shawn, could you just go over, and I know that two organizations actually have people trained in a number of the same rescue disciplines, but could you just give a list of all the different rescue disciplines that the squad handles?
Yeah, I'll try not to make it too technical, I guess. So motor vehicle extrication, basically cutting somebody out of their car. Rope rescue, whether that is from a high place, high angle rescue or low angle rescue. We do confined space. Any sort of water rescue, whether that's swift water like floods or boat rescue out on the lake. We do ice rescue, trench rescue, structural collapse, a whole number of rescues.
Yeah, and absolutely. And people shouldn't feel that they need to be worried about, challenged about learning all these different disciplines. But certainly, from the first aid squad, the fire department viewpoint and challenges to fulfill, we will train people who strive to push themselves and train in those different disciplines. And there are plenty of people, once they begin to serve, really desire to take those next steps with the training and the practicing of executing those different types of rescues. And another note is the fire department and first aid squad work hand in hand in many of these different, from what we would call motor vehicle rescues to something more challenging like a water or more of a technical rescue. So although we're separate agencies and focus on different emergency services, when an emergency occurs from different aspects, we work very cohesively as a team for the same goal. So when you come in the door, you should never be afraid of too much of a challenge. But we certainly find from our own members as they walk in the door and as they attend more training that there's this internal passion to learn more and get more involved, because they really develop a great passion and drive to learn more and help more.
Right. And I think another thing to stress is that you're looking for volunteers for both organizations, and there's no threshold as far as like who you are, really. I mean, if you live in town or work in town, doesn't matter what your race, your religion, your background is, well, any of that, right? Because it's both organizations have really been wide open to people from all segments of the community. So I don't know if you want to comment on, just reflect on that, or just
absolutely.
It.
I mean, I think we're all familiar with Princeton, how eclectic it is, and it's a big melting pot. And I think the squad and the fire department are no different. We've had people from every race, religion, background. I've met people from all over the country, all over the world who've been volunteers. And it's really, I think that's part of what makes us really unique.
And I think that's, you hit it right on, Shawn, that both agencies and the fire department also, we have very different members, very diverse members within the department. And the one thing is, once people join these organizations and really get a taste of the organization, it's great to see how diverse the teams are, yet working on these same goals and objectives while they're training and while they're executing any type of incident response.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing to hit on, is at the end of the day, when we are on those emergency calls, who you are, what you do, it doesn't matter. We're all on the same team. We're all working towards one goal.
So just to reinforce, both organizations have a program for 16 and 17-year-olds, and then obviously for adults. But is there a maximum age? in either group any kind of limit or anything, or is it just as long as you're physically fit and mentally stable, you're here?
So that's a great point, and with the Princeton Fire Department, and I know same with the first aid squad, with a long-standing tradition and history, you will see a number of members that come up as younger members and contribute for decades and decades. And Mark, you're one of those folks that have contributed actively for decades. There is no retirement or age that people can't be a part of these organizations. So once they transition from maybe an interior firefighter, they can support in different aspects in response, whether that's fire police or training or some other administrative positions. But there's never an age limit that defines a person. As long as they're willing to contribute, we welcome their contributions.
Yeah, and the same thing from the first aid squad's aspect. Obviously, you do, like you said, you need to be physically and mentally capable, but as long as you check those boxes, there's no age limit.
So the opportunity is pretty wide open. Anybody out there that has even a slight inkling should show up at one of these 2 open houses. And I guess there'll be other publicity over time for both organizations as they look to recruit more volunteer members. So I'd like to thank both of you again, Michael Yeh, Shawn Gallagher, Princeton Fire Department, Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad. Thank you both for joining us today, and good luck with recruitment drives.
Thank you very much for having us, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you for joining us for the 7th episode of the Princeton Podcast, produced as a community service by HG Media, providing audio, video, and website design services here in Princeton since 1999. If you enjoyed this episode of the Princeton Podcast, please share it with your friends. And be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts.